I remember the exact moment my marriage ended. It was not when I found the messages, not when I saw them together, but when my wife sat across from me at our kitchen table, hands trembling slightly, and said those three words, "We need to talk." 7 years of marriage. A house in Portland, stable careers, and what I thought was a solid foundation suddenly felt like it was built on sand. I expected maybe a conversation about bills or plans for the weekend. What I did not expect was the look in her eyes, that careful avoidance of direct contact, the way she kept glancing at her phone, lying face down on the table. I had no idea that in 48 hours, my entire world would collapse, and in 90 days, hers would too. Before I continue, I want to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments. If you have ever felt blindsided by someone you trusted, hit the like button. And subscribe, because what happened next taught me the most expensive lesson about love, loyalty, and legal paperwork. Now, let me take you back to that evening. It was a Thursday in March, rain drumming against the windows of our kitchen. The warm yellow light overhead gave everything a false sense of coziness. I had just gotten home from work. I am a software engineer, and that particular day had been exhausting with back-to-back meetings. Amanda had cooked dinner, which was unusual. We normally ordered takeout during the week. She had made pasta, my favorite, and the smell should have been comforting. Instead, something felt off. We sat down, and after a few bites in silence, she put down her fork. "I think we should consider opening our marriage," she said. I actually laughed. I thought it was some kind of joke, maybe something she had seen on social media. "What do you mean?" I asked, still smiling. "I am serious, Christoph." Her face was completely straight, no hint of humor. The smile died on my face. Are you actually serious right now?" She nodded, launching into what sounded like a prepared speech. "We are young. We got married at 25. Maybe we have not experienced enough. I have been reading about how opening a marriage can actually strengthen it, bring new energy, help us grow as individuals." I sat there feeling like someone had slapped me across the face. The words personal growth and maintaining our spark and modern relationships kept coming out of her mouth, but all I could hear was white noise. My wife, the woman I had built a life with, was sitting there telling me she wanted to sleep with other people. "Is there someone else?" I asked quietly. "No," she said too quickly. "This is not about anyone specific. This is about us, about not letting our relationship become stagnant." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. I thought maybe this was some kind of early midlife crisis. We were both 32. Maybe she was panicking about getting older, about missed opportunities. "I need time to think about this," I said. "Of course," she replied, looking relieved. "Take all the time you need." But as I watched her that night, I started noticing things. Her phone, which she kept face down, vibrated constantly. She kept checking it, then putting it away quickly when she saw me looking. She would not make eye contact. And she seemed eager to end the conversation, like she had delivered her message, and now just wanted to move on. I did not sleep that night. I lay next to my wife, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what had just happened. The next morning, Friday, Amanda left for work unusually early. She said she had an important presentation. I was working from home that day, and I could not focus on anything. My mind kept circling back to the conversation. Around noon, I called Marcus, my best friend from college and former roommate. I told him everything. "Dude," he said immediately, "nobody asks for an open marriage out of nowhere. There is already someone else." "You think so?" "I know so. Trust me. This is not about exploration or growth or whatever she is selling. This is about her wanting permission to do what she is probably already doing." His words hit me like ice water. I did not want to believe it, but something in my gut told me he was right. That evening, I came home early. Amanda was not there yet, which was normal. But when I walked into the living room, I saw her laptop open on the sofa, This was strange. She always closed and locked her computer. As I walked past it, a notification popped up on the screen. A message from someone saved as D in her contacts. Cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Hotel room booked. My heart stopped. I stood there frozen, staring at that message. Then, like my body was moving on autopilot, I sat down and clicked on the message thread. What I found made me physically sick. 3 months of messages. Romantic messages. Explicit messages. Plans to meet. Inside jokes. Pet names. D was Derek, a co-worker at her marketing firm. The messages mentioned him being recently divorced, having 2 kids, being 45 years old. There were references to hotel rooms, to stolen afternoons, to when we can finally be together. Amanda had lied about so many things. All those nights, she said she was working late. All those girls' nights out with friends. All lies. My hands shook as I took photos of everything with my phone. I found their shared calendar. They had regular meetups, always at hotels downtown. I found booking confirmations in her email. I found everything. Then I heard her car in the driveway. I closed the laptop exactly as I had found it and went upstairs to our bedroom. When she came in, she was humming, in a good mood. "Hey," she said, kissing my cheek. "How was your day?" "Fine," I managed to say. "How was yours?" "Busy, exhausting. I am glad to be home." She smiled at me, this warm, genuine-looking smile, and I felt sick. That night after she fell asleep, I went downstairs and made a phone call. James was another friend from college, but he had become a lawyer specializing in family law. I told him I needed to see him urgently. "Do not confront her yet," he said. "Do not let her know you know anything. Gather every piece of evidence you can. Oregon is a no-fault state, but infidelity still matters when it comes to dividing assets. Document everything." So that is what I did. That Friday night, while my wife slept peacefully beside me, I stayed awake until 3 in the morning, downloading bank statements, investment records, documenting everything I could think of. I looked up our house paperwork. I had paid 80% of the down payment with money I inherited from my grandmother. Amanda contributed the other 20%. I had receipts for everything. Saturday morning I woke up, made Amanda coffee, and smiled at her. She asked if I had thought more about her proposal. "I need a little more time," I said. "It is a big decision." She seemed happy with that answer. "Of course, no rush." But I knew where she was going that day. She told me she was having brunch with her college friend Sarah. I knew she was actually meeting Derek, and I made a decision that I had never thought I would make in my life. I followed her. I kept a careful distance as I drove behind her car through downtown Portland. She parked at a boutique hotel I recognized from the booking confirmations I had found. I parked far away in a spot where I could see the entrance, but would not be noticed. At 11:30, I watched my wife walk into that hotel lobby. 5 minutes later, a tall man with graying hair and an expensive suit arrived. Derek. I watched them embrace. I watched them kiss right there in the lobby where anyone could see. And I took photos of everything. Sitting in my car, my hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone. Every part of me wanted to storm into that hotel to confront them, to make a scene. But I remembered what James had said: evidence first, emotion later. So I waited. I sat in that car for 3 hours eating a sandwich I had brought, feeling like the most pathetic person alive. When they finally emerged, they were laughing, holding hands, looking like a couple without a care in the world. I took more photos as they walked to a nearby restaurant for dinner. I did not go home until after 9 that night. When I got there, Amanda was already back taking a shower. When she came out wrapped in a towel, she told me all about her wonderful day with Sarah, about the shopping they did, about the lunch they had. "Did you have fun?" I asked. "Yeah, it was great. I really needed that." She smiled at me, and I had to turn away so she would not see the disgust on my face. The next day, Sunday, I met James at his office. It was an emergency meeting, and he came in on his day off to help me. I showed him everything, the messages, the photos, the financial records. Christoph, he said, looking at me seriously, you've got everything we need. We can file immediately, and with this evidence, we can protect your assets. The house down payment was your separate property from an inheritance. Your startup shares from your previous company are yours. We can make sure you keep what is rightfully yours. We spent 3 hours going over strategy. James explained how Oregon law worked, how we could claim fault in the asset division, even though it was technically a no-fault state, how Amanda's affair could impact the settlement. One more thing, he said. You need to protect your assets before we file. Transfer anything that is clearly your separate property into an account under only your name. Document every contribution you have made to shared expenses. This is all legal. You're just separating what was always yours to begin with. Monday, I made the transfers. I moved my investment accounts, documented everything. That evening, Amanda brought up the open marriage again. Have you thought more about it? I looked at her, this woman I thought I knew, and said, yeah, I have. Let us talk more on Wednesday. I need a little more time to process everything. She looked so happy, so relieved. She thought she was winning. She thought I was going to agree that she could have her affair and our marriage and my financial support all at the same time. Tuesday was when everything crystallized for me. I was working from home, supposedly in a meeting with my headphones on. Amanda thought I could not hear her. She went into our backyard and made a phone call, but I could hear every word. He is considering it, she said, and I knew she was talking to Derek. Give me another week, and I will have everything set up. Then we can be together without the mess of divorce. You are sure he will not find out about us? Derek asked. Amanda actually laughed. Christoph. He is too trusting. He believes everything I say. This is going to work perfectly. I sat at my desk, headphones still on, staring at my computer screen without seeing anything. The rage I felt was unlike anything I had ever experienced. She was not just cheating on me, she was actively manipulating me, laughing about how gullible I was planning to use me. I texted James, file the papers tomorrow morning. I am done playing nice. That evening, Amanda was excited about planning an anniversary trip for next month. Maybe Hawaii? She suggested. We have not had a real vacation in so long. I just nodded and smiled. Inside, I was thinking, by next month, you will be living in a different house. I went to bed that night next to a stranger, someone I thought I knew, someone I had built a life with. But by noon the next day, she would realize she never knew me at all. Wednesday morning started like any other, except it was not. I woke up at 6 in the morning. Amanda was still asleep, her hair spread across the pillow, looking peaceful. I had packed my essential belongings the night before, clothes, laptop, important documents. Everything else I left behind. At 6:30, I walked out of our house for what would be the last time as a married man living there. Amanda still had no idea what was coming. At 9 o'clock sharp, a process server arrived at Amanda's office. In front of her colleagues in the middle of her workday, she was handed divorce papers. Papers that included detailed evidence of her affair, a proposal for asset division, and a restraining order preventing her from entering our marital home. I know this because she called me. Actually, she called me 37 times in the first hour. I did not answer a single call. The texts started coming through, what the hell, call me now. Then, Christoph, please. We can talk about this. This is insane. Then, you cannot just leave. We need to discuss this like adults. I did not reply to any of them. She left voicemails. The first ones were angry, demanding I call her back. Then they became desperate. How did you find out we can work through this? Then came the bargaining. This is about Derek. Is not it? It is not what you think. Please just talk to me. The final voicemail that day was her crying, "You are making a huge mistake. I gave you 7 years of my life." I deleted every message without listening to them fully. 2 weeks later, we had our first court appearance for temporary orders regarding the house and assets. Amanda had hired a lawyer, but it was clear she had done so in a panic, and the attorney was not well prepared. James, on the other hand, had everything organized perfectly. The evidence was presented methodically. The photos of Amanda and Derek at the hotel entering together, leaving together hours later. The message threads printed out, highlighted with timestamps. The hotel receipts, the booking confirmations. A complete timeline of a 3-month affair. Amanda's lawyer tried to argue that it was just emotional support, and that nothing physical had happened. James calmly presented explicit messages that made it very clear what had been happening in those hotel rooms. Amanda's face went red, then white. Her lawyer tried another angle that Amanda had contributed equally to the house and deserved half. James showed the bank records. My grandmother had left me $160,000 when she passed away 5 years ago. That money paid for 80% of our down payment. Amanda contributed $40,000, 20%. The documentation was irrefutable. Amanda broke down crying in the courtroom. Not quiet tears, full sobbing. The judge looked unmoved. The temporary ruling came down. I was granted exclusive use of the marital home. My separate property, the investments I had made before marriage, the startup shares I owned were confirmed as mine alone. All joint assets were frozen pending the final hearing. Amanda had 48 hours to move out of the house. After we left the courthouse, the messages started again. This time they were different. I made a terrible mistake. Please give me another chance. I love you. I never meant to hurt you. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. I did not reply. She showed up at my office a week later. Security had to escort her out. Our mutual friends started calling me confused because Amanda was telling everyone that I had abandoned her without warning. But divorce filings are public record. Friends started looking into it. They found out about the affair, about Derek, about everything. Amanda's reputation at her workplace became damaged. People talked. She became known as the woman who tried to manipulate her husband into an open marriage to legitimize her affair. Derek, it turned out, wanted no part of the drama. His ex-wife had custody of their kids, and he could not afford any scandal that might affect that arrangement. 3 weeks after the papers were served, he sent Amanda a text. "This is too messy. I cannot do this anymore." Amanda lost both of us in the same month. The affair partner, who was supposed to be worth destroying her marriage for, and the husband she had taken for granted. Her friends started distancing themselves too. Nobody wanted to be associated with the drama. Amanda was alone, scrambling to find an apartment she could afford, watching her lawyer fees pile up, realizing that the joint accounts she had relied on were frozen, and most of the real assets were mine. 3 months after I filed, we had the final divorce hearing. I walked in, prepared and confident. Amanda looked like she had not slept in days. Her hair was not styled the way she usually kept it. Her clothes looked wrinkled. She looked defeated before we even started. Her lawyer made a last desperate attempt. They argued that the open marriage had been a mutual idea, that I had agreed to it. There was zero evidence of this because it was not true. They argued that Amanda deserved half of everything because marriage is a partnership. James calmly explained separate property laws and showed documentation of what I had brought into the marriage. They argued Amanda needed spousal support. James pointed out that she had a well-paying job and that her adultery constituted fault under Oregon law. The judge listened to everything, reviewed all the documents, and made the final ruling. The house was awarded to me. It was my separate property, purchased primarily with my inheritance. The investments and startup shares mine, as they were acquired before marriage. The joint savings account was split 70-30 in my favor due to Amanda's fault in the dissolution. No spousal support would be awarded. Additionally, Amanda was ordered to pay a portion of my legal fees. When the judge finished reading the decision, Amanda completely broke down. "This is not fair," she cried out in the courtroom. "I gave him 7 years. He cannot just take everything." The judge looked at her coldly. "Mrs. Amanda, you also gave your husband grounds for divorce based on adultery. This court has reviewed all evidence and made its ruling based on the law. We are adjourned." Bailiffs had to help escort Amanda out because she was sobbing so hard she could barely walk. I gathered my papers, shook hands with James, and walked out of that courtroom a free man. Outside, Amanda was sitting on a bench, her lawyer standing awkwardly nearby. When she saw me, she stood up and walked over. Her face was blotchy from crying mascara running down her cheeks. "I hope you are happy," she said, her voice breaking. "You took everything from me." I looked at her, really looked at her, for what I knew would be the last time. "No, Amanda," I said quietly. "You threw away everything. I just made sure I did not lose what was mine to begin with." Then I walked away, got in my car, and drove home. To my house, to my future. And I did not look back. The months that followed were not easy, but they were necessary. Living alone in that house was strange at first. Everything reminded me of Amanda. The coffee mug she always used, the way she organized the pantry, the spot on the couch where she liked to sit. For the first month, I barely changed anything. I would come home from work, heat up some dinner, and sit in silence. But slowly, I started to reclaim the space. I repainted the living room, a color I had always wanted, but Amanda had said was too dark. I bought new furniture pieces that I actually liked, not things we had compromised on. I removed the photos from the walls, the little decorations she had chosen. It was painful, each change a reminder of what I had lost, but it was also freeing. The emotional process was harder than the physical one. There were nights when I would lie awake wondering, what if? What if I had never found out? What if I had agreed to the open marriage? What if she had never cheated? But those thoughts were poison, and I knew it. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Patricia Huang, who specialized in helping people process betrayal and divorce. You cannot trust someone who has shown you they are untrustworthy. She told me in one session, staying would not have been brave. It would have been self-destructive. Marcus checked in on me constantly. My parents, who had never been Amanda's biggest fans, though they had been polite, were supportive. My colleagues at work were respectful and did not gossip. I focused on my job, and 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was promoted to senior engineer. The startup shares I owned vested, bringing in a significant amount of money. My investment portfolio was growing. Financially, I was better off than I had ever been. I heard through mutual friends what happened to Amanda. She moved to Seattle, unable to face people in Portland anymore. She got a new job, but at a lower salary than she had been making. She was still single. Derek never came back, and apparently, she had not dated anyone seriously since. People said she expressed regret constantly, that she had made the biggest mistake of her life. I wish I could say that hearing about her struggles gave me satisfaction, but it did not. I just felt nothing. Indifference. I had realized something important. Holding on to anger or bitterness toward her meant letting her continue to control my emotions. So, I forgave her. Not for her sake, but for mine. Forgiveness did not mean forgetting or excusing what she did. It meant releasing the grip it had on me. A year after the divorce, I started dating again. Nothing serious at first, just casual coffee dates, getting to know people. Then I met Lauren, an architect, who shared my love of hiking and terrible puns. We took things slowly. I was honest with her from the beginning about my divorce, about what I had been through. She appreciated the honesty and did not run away from it. I learned a lot from that nightmare year. I learned to trust my gut, those red flags I had ignored. When Amanda became distant and secretive with her phone, I would never ignore again. I learned to protect myself legally. A prenuptial agreement is not about lacking trust. It is about being smart. I learned that silence can be more powerful than confrontation. If I had immediately confronted Amanda, when I found out I would have lost the legal advantage I needed. I learned to know my worth. Amanda had tried to make me feel like I was the problem, like I was not enough. But I deserved better, and I knew it. Most importantly, I learned that betrayal reveals character. Amanda did not make one mistake in a moment of weakness. She made a series of choices to start the affair, to maintain it for months, to lie repeatedly, to try to manipulate me into accepting it. Those choices showed me exactly who she was, and who she was turned out to be, someone I did not want to spend my life with. Sitting here now in my home with Lauren asleep upstairs and our plans for next weekend on the calendar, I think about how different my life could have been. If I had been weaker, if I had been more afraid of being alone, if I had valued the idea of marriage more than I valued myself, I might still be with Amanda. I might be living a lie, wondering every day if she was faithful, feeling small and inadequate. Instead, I chose myself. I chose my dignity. I chose my future. The house, the money, the assets. Those were just things. What I really took from that marriage was a lesson about self-respect that I will carry for the rest of my life. Amanda wanted an open marriage to keep her affair. I gave her something better, an open door. And I walked through it with my dignity, my assets, and my future intact. She thought she was playing me. Turns out I was just done playing. If you have made it this far, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment about your experience with betrayal and how you handled it. Did you stay or did you walk? What did you learn? Hit that like button. If this story resonated with you, and subscribe, because we are all learning and growing together. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who is questioning their worth in a relationship. And remember, sometimes the best thing you can take from a relationship is not stuff. It is the lesson. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope wherever you are, whatever you are going through, you know that you deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. Never settle for less.